We are very pleased to be here. We're going to hear the testimony of Judith Jaegermann. We're very happy that you're here. You did lectures in schools, in bases, the army, around Israel, and today we're going to hear from her. Please respect the place and the time. Be quiet, ask questions, and listen.
Shalom lekulam. My name is Judith Jaegermann. I was born in Czechia, in the town of Karlsbad. It was a beautiful town. People came there for a holiday, and my parents had a very nice restaurant, and we were a happy family. On Friday evenings we used to sing Shabbat songs, and it was very nice. And עכשיו איפה הייתי?
בסדר, בהתחלה.
בבקשה, תיכנס. And it was Erev Sukkot in the year of 1937, it was Erev Sukkot, and my father asked me to come to help him to build a nice sukkah, and I was very happy that he needs me. So we went out to the on the pavement, and we made a very nice sukkah. And as we were preparing the very beautiful sukkah, there came suddenly stones on us from the windows of our neighbors who were in the same house like we. And I was only 7 years old. I was a little girl. And they said, Papa, why do they throw stones on us? And he didn't know what to answer me, because he also was not expecting such an experience. He only said, because we are Jews. We are Jews, and that's why. I said, Papa, this is very frightening. Please come take me home. I want to be home at home. I had a lot of beautiful dolls, and he took my hand and we went home. And I went straight to my dolls and was telling them about what happened, that they threw stones on me. And I was very frightening and shivering. And the same evening, my sister Esther, she was 14 years older than me, she came home from her work, and she heard what has happened to us. She said to Papa, we have to leave this house here, because there will be a war. There will be a terrible war against Jews. And I heard Jabotinsky speaking. She said he was talking to Jewish students and said we should go to Palestine to build a land for Jews. And my Papa, he was very naive. He said, Esther, then you are old enough to decide for yourself if you want to go to Palestine or if you want to stay with us, because we are staying here. I have friends here, he said. I have friends, and nothing will happen to us. He was a very respectful man. He had many positions in the Karlsbad. He didn't believe that something can happen to our family. And Esther, and she was already in a Zionist movement in Beitar. She and many other Beitarim put the suitcase together, and she got one of the last ships. It was called Zachariah, the ship of only Beitarim from that youth movement. She took the ship and she went to Palestine. And we were left behind, and the days were very terrible, stone throwing, and we saw on every house swastikas, and it was very frightening. And I, as a child, I didn't know what it means. I went to school and came home, and there was full of swastika in our house. I said, Mama, who is doing this terrible thing, who put these ugly things on our house? She said, my dear child, we must leave this house here, we must go to another place, we are not safe here. I said, where will we go? We were born here, where shall we go? This is our home. No, she was crying and said, we have to leave this house. And so, after Esther left, my father saw that she was right to leave Czechia, and he wanted also now to go to Palestine. But as he remembered to leave, it was too late. The borders were already closed for Jews. We could not leave Czechia, and so he said to all the Jewish people, we must go to Prague, where there are not so many Nazis. Karlsbad is the border on Germany, and in Karlsbad there are many Nazis. So he said, let's go to Prague. There maybe will be much less anti-Semitism. And all the Jews said, yes, you are right. And so we left everything at home. First of all, my dear dolls, I left with a girl who was living next door to us. And I was crying when I said goodbye to them. And of course, everything was left behind. The crystals and porcelain and everything, the whole restaurant and the beautiful furniture was leaving behind. And we went with the train to Prague. And in Prague were already Jewish people waiting for us. They put us in many houses where Jews were living, but we had to share the kitchens and the toilet and everything, and it was here also very difficult to be with people which we don't know. And even here in Prague, we saw swastikas already. We saw swastikas, and even flags from the windows came. And the same atmosphere like in Karlsbad. And I said, what will be now? Can we go to school here? And we could go to school for a half a year. Ruth and me, we were three girls at home. Esther, Ruth, and me. I was the youngest. So we went to school, but a few months later, the war broke out. It was now 1939. The Germans came to Prague, the soldiers with the tanks, with the songs, and every song was very frightening against Jews. Everything was against Jews. There was one song that was especially frightening. It was when Jewish blood comes out of our knives, the world will be a better one. This was a very frightening song, and I could not sleep in the night because I heard the terrible words of the terrible song. And so Jewish pupils could not go anymore to schools, and after they came to Prague, to Czechia, the Germans, every Jew had to wear a yellow star of David, and it has to be sewn with thread and needles, and also children, just the same. And so we went with the Magen David, and who did not wear the Magen David, they were the Nazis, and they had a needle here with a swastika, and the Nazis had always high boots, and they were beating Jews in Prague, mostly elderly men, and not every elderly man got up from the beatings in the streets in Prague. It was a very terrible time. And after this, the Magen David, in a few days later, there were murmurs that they sent the Jews in a ghetto. Ghetto is a town where there are walls around and we could not go out. That they were sending Jewish people to Ghetto Theresienstadt, that is also in Czechia. And they came with cars to pick up all the Jews, and they knew exactly where every Jew was living. They came also to take us, our family. They threw us on the car like parcels, and they brought us to the exhibition halls, where till now were exhibitions. Now they stopped with the exhibitions and they made a meeting place for Jews. And I was here the youngest. We had to stand for hours, and they were letting us stand, and it was a hot summer, it was August, it was now 42, and we had to stand for hours rigid like soldiers. And one day the heat was so terrible on my head that I fell down and I was fainting because of the heat. And I woke up with the rifle of the SS man on my belly, and he woke me up, and I stood up and saw the rifle on me. He said, "Don't you be spoiled here, don't be pampered here." I said, I'm not pampered. He said, then stand up and learn to stand like all the grown-up people are standing. Yes, I said, I will learn it. And I really learned to stand rigid like all the grown-up people. And we were there for 1 week in the exhibition halls, and after the week, they took us to the railway station in Prague, put us to trains, and maybe 100 people in one wagon. It was cattle trains, cattle wagons. And it was so full that I couldn't breathe. It was terrible hot. It was August, and I didn't see my parents and my sister. Where are they? I couldn't breathe, but I was looking. I was small and they were big, and I saw the head of my father, so I was happy and could breathe again. And we went for hours, and suddenly we came to Theresienstadt, and there's a train was standing. The door opened. They took us out, the men on one side, the women on the other side, and the children, my sister Ruth and I, and other children, they took us to the children's home. And I was very unhappy there. I was crying all the time since we arrived there, because I didn't know where my parents are. Where is Mama? Where is Papa? When would I see them again? I was crying, and Ruth was a little older than me, and she was independent more. She was working in a vegetable garden, and I was only planning how to go out to see my mother. And as I heard people murmuring that here in this ghetto there are no beatings. So I was not afraid to leave one day the house where the children live and to go looking for my mother. And as I went, I go straight, I was crying, and a woman came to me and said, "Why are you crying, my child? What is wrong with you?" I said, "I'm looking for the Czech women. We came from Prague 3 days ago. Where are the Czech women, please? Please help me." And she took me by the hand, and she went house by house, and she was looking on every house what is written there. Then suddenly she stood with me in front of a house where it was written L315. "Here you will find the Czech women," she said. I said, thank you. She went on away, and I took the handle of the door in my hand and opened the door. And I said, Mama! And my mother was inside. She saw me. Where are you? She also did not know where we are, where her daughters are. I said, Mama, we are in the children's home, but I want to be with you. I must be with you. I cannot be without you. So she took me in a small room, the half of this room, where she was living with 12 grown-up women on the floor. And she asked now the women, please, if you don't mind, my little girl will stay with us. They were happy with me. They were happy that there is also a child among them, and I was the happiest child in the whole ghetto, that I could be near my mother and with grown-up women. I was just happy. I was not afraid of anything anymore. But my happiness did not last very long, because in the ghetto there was an epidemic of children's sickness. It was scarlet fever. Scarlet fever, is it the right word? And they took me away from my mother again to another room, to a quarantine room, where all the children with this sickness were lying. And I was crying, because I saw every day children who died. They were covered on the face, and I start again to cry, because I'm going to die now. I was crying terrible. And twice a week there came a doctor. He was also a prisoner in the ghetto, a Jewish doctor, and he came to see how we are. And as he saw me crying, and I was so red from crying, he said, what is happening to you? Why are you crying? I said, Doctor, I see every day they take out children covered on the head. They are dead. Probably I am going also to die. No, he said, you are not dying. You are recovering already. You don't have fever anymore. The children who died, they had a complication. They had meningitis. It was a complication to the sickness, but you don't have it. Don't cry. So I calmed down. I was happy that I am not going to die. And in a few days, when I felt better, my mother came to take me away again in the room where she was living with 12 other women. And so I was now very weak after the long illness, and I did not know what is awaiting for us. And we were there for 16 months in Theresienstadt, and after 16 months there were murmurs that we will be sent to Auschwitz. We did not know what is Auschwitz. We never heard that word, Auschwitz. In the whole 16 months we did not hear even once that Auschwitz exists. But now, after 16 months, there were murmurs that they said to Auschwitz to be gassed. But nobody believed it. Nobody believed it because we never heard it. Nobody told us. And so after 16 months, they took us in Theresienstadt to the railway station. They put us again in trains, but now terrible humiliation started. In the center of the wagon, please excuse me, they put
Bucket.
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 A bucket in the middle of the train. As it should be a toilet for men, women, and children. And we were looking on each other. Where are they taking us? Who is this man? It was the SS man who put the bucket in in the train, and he said, "You dirty Jews, oi vavoy, if you will make dirty this train, oi vavoy lachem." And we were looking, who is it? Where are they taking us? They drag us to Auschwitz, dear children, dear young people. And we were not using this bucket. Not one person was using this bucket because we were still human beings. We were still human beings. In Theresienstadt, we were working something, and we had our hairs. They left us. The watches they left us. Everything, and our clothes were from home. We were human beings. We did not use this bucket, but after many hours of journey, people used to fall down and faint because holding back. And so it was nights and days that we were in that train, not using the bucket. And then we came to Auschwitz. And my father, when the train was going slowly, my father put out his nose through a small opening, and he saw somebody outside who was working on the railway station, and asked him, "Please tell me, are they transport going somewhere else from here?" And that was a German railway worker. He said, "Every day go transport from here in this direction, so that my father understood that we are in Auschwitz and this is the chimney." So I saw my father now turning around to all of us, and he said, "Kinder, we are in Auschwitz." And I saw all the grown-up people, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, all were praying to God, what is going to happen to us? What is going to happen to us? And I was holding the hand of my mother, not speaking anything, and it was a terrible feeling, and after a few meters, the train was standing. And they left us there, closed in, and after some meters, the door opened, and there was night already. But projectors came to us from every direction, and we heard voices, "Raus, raus, schneller, schneller, out with you, out with you." And big dogs were barking, and we did not see anything. It was terrible dark. And I wanted to ask my mother if we are in hell, if we came to hell. Because for me it was hell. And even today I am sure that I went through hell. And I could not speak. Not one word came out from my throat. And she understood me. She took my face in her hands and she said, "I also don't know where we arrived, but here you must be strong. Here you must be strong." And we were all outside already. The darkness ate up the men. We did not see the men already. We did not see our father. And the women, they took into a big hall, into a very big hall, where we had to strip our clothes, and we stood naked here, trembling from cold. It was now December 43, December 43, terrible cold, and we had to took out our clothes to put it on the wall, and we were waiting what is going to happen. We were all trembling. And after a few minutes of standing there came in the hall a small man, a very small man, with a striped pajamas, and very, very thin. He was very thin, and he started to shave us, our heads, everything where the hair is, and we were standing, and people started to cry, of course, and whoever cried got beatings. It was hell here. It was hell. And when we saw that they are getting such beatings, of course, we took out everything and put on the floor. And when we were shaved, we learned not to cry, because for crying there are beatings. We started not to cry, and not that we learned not to cry. There was a woman SS who belittled us. She saw the hair on the floor, and she said, "Nice hair have the Jewish girls. We need our hair. We need your hair for our soldiers in the front. There is a bitter cold. There is a bitter winter. We need your hair for our soldiers." And we did not cry. We did not cry. So we learned not to cry in order not to get any beatings. And when we finished, we got here a number of Auschwitz. We got new things from the SS women. We got here a number of Auschwitz, and and under that number was a triangle, a yellow triangle for Jewish prisoners. And in the morning, it took the whole night. And in the morning we got wooden sandals, and they took us after there came a woman of SS. They came also. She came also in that hall, and she made us the numbers on our arms. And I was standing behind my mother. She got 715 FS 1. I got 71502, and Ruth, my sister, she got 3. She was standing behind me, and it was very painful because it was done with a needle, dot after dot. It was very painful. So I took my arm. I wanted to take my arm, and I got a very big slap on my face. And the woman said, "Does it hurt?" I said, "Yes." "Well, don't think that you're here on a holiday," she said. "You are in a concentration camp of Auschwitz." "Yes," I said, and I gave her back the hand, my arm, to finish the last 2 numbers. It was very painful. And so we stood the whole night, and in the morning we got the wooden sandals, and they took us 4 kilometers from Auschwitz to Birkenau. Birkenau is a part of Auschwitz. So we went, and already on the way to Birkenau we lost our sandals because the snow was so deep. It was December, the snow was so deep and the mud was so deep that we lost our sandals in the mud. And we came without anything on our feet to Birkenau. In Birkenau there were huts, one bed on the other, three beds, and 3 beds like this, for 9 girls with 3 small blankets. It was very cold. And when we already we found already everyone where to put his head, and the Germans went out already, the ones who took us there. So we started so much to cry that I think it was millions of tears running from our eyes. It was terrible cold, and what did they do to us? Everybody said, what did they do to us? Yesterday we were still, we were still human beings, and what are we today? We are clowns for a circus. What did they do to us? And in the morning, they woke us. We did not sleep, of course, but they called us to stand roll call. How
Yes.
do they say?
Roll call, yeah. In the morning.
To stand in front of the barrack and to count us. People used to fall from the cold. We were not warm enough, so the people fall, and whoever fall, the Germans took them by their feet and took them out, pulled them out, and we never saw that person again. So that we learned not to fall. And I was the youngest. I was now 12 and a half, and I also took care not to fall down, because to fall down, it's the end of the person. And so every day the same. We started to get thin and very thin, and we had frost boils on our bodies, and we got lice. We could not wash ourselves. There was no water, and we had lice. And beating, occasionally we were very beaten. And I saw once one girl, she took her own life. She went to the electric wire, and she could not live anymore. She said, I want to die, I cannot live like this. She put her hands on the electric wire, and she died. And I saw her, and I envy her. I was looking like this, and my mother always with me, and she said, don't do that also. Don't do the same thing. I think, Imale, look, she does not suffer anymore. She has a smile on her face. But you have a mother, she said. And I was one of the luckiest girls that I have a mother. And I left this idea, and my mother became the mother of all the girls who stayed already without mothers. She was a believer in God, and she told them, God will help us, and we will come out from here. And one day my mother saw a little bird on one of the barracks, and she said, Lalushka, it's me. Lalushka, come and see that little bird. Here in nowhere, she comes here. I said, what does she want here? There is no food for her, for that little bird. She said, my mother said, she is not coming to eat here. She is not coming to look for food. She is coming to tell us from God that we will be liberated one day from here. That was my mother. She was a very religious person. She believed in God, and she believed very hardly that this little bird came to tell us that we will be liberated one day from this hell. And time passed, it was terrible, we were beaten, and whoever fell again, they pulled him out among the people, and we never saw him again. And our father we did not see already. He was among the men somewhere else. And so one day Dr. Mengele came into our hall. Do you know who is Mengele?
Yes.
Yes. All of you? And he was looking for twins. And we had one pair of twins, and they said, yeah, we are here, we are twins here. They didn't know who it is. Nobody of us knew who it might be. And he came to them, come down. They were on the last bed. They came to him, and he was looking from one to another, and said, yes, you look very much alike. I take you now, and I will bring you back in the evening. And I was looking at them, and I said to myself, who is that man? Who can that be? And he took them but he did not bring them back. He did not bring them back in the evening. He never brought them back. This was Dr. Mengele. And we did not know what happened to them. We did not have anybody to ask because nobody knew the answer. Who was that man? And the same man, this Dr. Mengele, he's made also the selections. He said who will live and who will die. And so one day they brought us to the showers because we did not wash for months, we did not wash ourselves. And now we knew already what is selection, till now we did not know. And so the woman of the barrack said, today we are going to shower. And so the people were afraid. Maybe it's not a shower, maybe it's gas. And they got hysterical. And what will we do now? What will be our life? What will they do with us? And I hold my mother's hand, and I didn't want to be afraid. I am not afraid, I'm not afraid, I said to myself. And they took us the same direction from Birkenau again to Auschwitz, where we arrived. And they put us into the showers, and we saw showers with holes from water. But people were not believing that this is shower. And till now, I don't know if it was shower or gas, but nothing worked. Not water came out and not gas came out at this day. And till now, dear people, I don't know where we were, if it was to be gassed or if we were to be showered. Till now. So nothing worked. After half an hour, they took us out and we grabbed something to wear, where we put all our clothes, and we went back to our barracks. Till now, I don't know what it was. It is a big puzzle. What terrible thing was going on at that day. And so again, the same again, the roll calls in the morning and the little food during the day, and we were looking for lice one to the other, and then came the selection. After 6 months there was a selection, and when I saw what is a selection, because I saw that they divided the nearest people, mother from daughter or grandmother from, they divided the nearest families from each other. When I understood what is a selection, I said to my mother, rub your cheeks, rub your cheeks. And she put it down, the whole row who were standing near her, and all the women were rubbing the cheeks so that the Germans should not see them. And this maybe was our liberator. And as the commandant came near to us, he sent all these people who were standing here in that direction, and there was standing a train. And he said, go into the train. I still hear the voices from shouting women, what will be with us, what will be with us? And we went into the train, no food, nothing, and we started to go, to move. This was the last time that we saw our father. He never came back. And we started to move, and after a long journey, very long journey, we came to Germany, to Hamburg, where no house was standing, because the British Air Force was bombing the town, and no house was standing in Hamburg, so they took us to a very hard labor camp, and already the next day we got a shovel into our hand, and we had to clean the surface in Hamburg. And one day it was so terrible cold. It was now winter 44. Winter 44, we could not work anymore. And the SS woman, she allowed us to make a little fire. So she found a bucket somewhere, and she told us to bring something that can burn. We put everything what can burn into the bucket, and she lit it, and there was a little fire. We were proud of that we were able to make a little fire. And we were warming ourselves on the fire, and suddenly behind the ruins came a voice from a man, and he said, "You miserable Jews, not only did the English Air Force bombed my house, so now you are coming to warm you up near my house." And he came. All the women were running away, our women who was working there, and I had no strength to run away. He took the bucket and threw it on my head, so that I was starting to burn. And my mother, who also she was running away, she looked back and she saw me burning. She came back to me, she put out the fire, and I fainted. And the SS woman, she told this happening to our commandant in the lager, in the camp, and he was ready to give me one more portion of soup, of the thin soup in that evening. That was his understanding for me. And so the days were long and cold, very cold, very cold. And one day, after many months, we heard cannon shooting. And the grown-up women told me, be strong, it will not take much longer. You must be strong now because it will not take longer. This is the front that is shooting. They will come to liberate us. But I did not know what is the front. I did not know what they are telling me. I was all mixed up. And really it was the bombing of the English, of the British. And they wanted to put us somewhere more far away from the front, but the trains were now busy with Hungarian Jews. End of 44, the Hungarian Jews were taken from their homes straight to Auschwitz to be gassed. So we did not have any train. We started to go. We started to walk days and nights, and many women stayed behind, and they got a shooting in their back, and they were like dogs running down the pavement. And we were walking a long, long time, and we came from Hamburg to Bergen-Belsen. It was a terrible camp. Only deads you could see, only dead people. And we were sitting down waiting for the dead, because we could not walk anymore, we could not do anything. And the Germans, they ran away already because they lost the war, and they left us without any food and without anything. And I don't know today how long we were sitting there. but I know that it was 15th of April 1945 that the first British tank came in, rolling in into Bergen-Belsen, and he had a loudspeaker, and he said, "Kids, you are free. We are the British." But we didn't have any strength to be happy. We did not have any feelings to be happy. Nothing. People died still after the liberation, and they came to us and took us on their hands, and they put us to the camp where the Germans were living till now. It was clean and nice there. They put us in their beds and started to feed us. But some people died after the eating because we were not used to digest. So many people died of the eating that they ate after the liberation. It was very hard. It was a hard time. And we had also typhus. There was an epidemic of typhus, and we all had typhus, and it was terrible. After we got better, the fever went out. All the soldiers made lists of everybody where he wants to go. And my mother said she wants Prague in the hope that we will hear something of our father. So we came to Prague with a normal train. In Prague there was already the movement for the Jewish people, and we did not find our father, and we were looking for him everywhere and asking everywhere where he can be. And at this time there were rumors that there will be a youth aliyah to Palestine. And my mother said to me, "You will go to Palestine, you have your big sister there, you will be home there." And Ruth and my mother stayed in Prague, and I came with a ship to Palestine with children without parents. Children who were without parents, they came with me to Palestine. But here we didn't have yet our land. It was not Eretz Israel yet. It was Palestine occupied by British, the same British soldiers like I saw in Bergen-Belsen. So they put us to a camp, to Atlit. Maybe you will visit there, to Atlit, a detention camp from the British, and they put us there. Again, barbed wire, and I started to cry. I was still a child. I was only 15 now, and I started asking questions. Why are we again in a camp? So the older ones, they told me, because there is a British mandat here, and we have to wait until they let us out. In the meanwhile, my sister Esther, she knew already that I am here in Palestine. She was living in Netanya. So after 3 months, she came to take me to Netanya, and I was waiting and expecting her to ask me questions. What was it all about? What did you suffer? But she never asked. It was a big problem that here the people did not ask us what we went through. Nobody asked now. Nobody, and I got very sad and got depressions, had to go to doctors to make my a better mood. And like me, very many other people also got depressions because we were not asked what we had been through. So I married very early. I was only 17 when I married. And also my husband did not ask questions because he didn't went through what I was suffering. And so many years went by, and I learned to speak to young people. I see it as my duty to speak to young people and in Israel and I went also to Germany to speak to young people what we went through and what it was all about. And now I have two big sons. God bless them. And I have 6 grandchildren, and even I have already 1 great-grandchild. And I hope to continue with my lectures, because it is my duty to do so, and I'm one of the last people who can still speak, and of course in Hebrew it is much easier. My English is not so perfect, but I hope you did understand me. And please give my words to your friends. And I brought you books that everyone will get a book. You can study it. And the same what I was telling you here, it's written in the book, and you can study it and keep it forever. Thank you. If you have some questions, please ask me.
Have you ever made contact with your mother since you moved?
כן, קצת יותר בקומה.
דבר בעברית.
לא בעברית רוז.
בעברית?
כן, בטח.
דיברתי עם אמא שלך מאז שהלכת לפלסטין.
אתה מדבר עברית?
כן, כן.
אז אני באה אליך, אני לא שומעת כל כך טוב.
האם דיברת עם אמא שלך מאז שהלכת לפלסטין?
מה?
שהלכת לפלסטינה.
כן, אמא שלי ואחותי גם כן הגיעו ב-49, אחרי קום המדינה, וגם היו בנתניה. אבל את אבא יותר לא ראינו. הוא נספה בבורנבד, שזה היה מחנה קשה לגברים.
So I just asked her if she ever made contact with her mother since she moved to Palestine, and she said at 49?
49.
Her mom and her sister came as well to Palestine and they lived together in Palestine.
Only Israel.
בעברית?
בעברית,
כן.
אמרת שטסת לגרמניה גם.
שמה?
שטסת לגרמניה. תספר את הסיפור.
כן, אני נסעתי לפני כמה שנים בגרמניה בבתי ספר, בנוער הגרמני. והיו כל מיני תגובות כמובן, היו כאלה שחייכו כאילו זה מגיע לכם, משהו כזה. היה לי קשה מאוד בגרמניה, והיו כאלה ששאלו שאלות, שהתעניינו מה היה. כל מיני תגובות היו.
Can it be translated?
I asked her if she said she flew to Germany to speak about with the young generation. So she said
Everything, the whole restaurant and the beautiful furniture was leaving behind, and we went with the train to Prague. And in Prague were already Jewish people waiting for us. They put us in many houses where Jews were living, but we had to share the kitchens and the toilet and everything, and it was here also very difficult to be with people which we don't know. And even here in Prague, we saw swastikas already. We saw swastikas, and even flags from the windows came, and the same atmosphere like in Karlsbad. And I said, what will be now? Can we go to school here? And we could go to school for a half a year. Ruth and me, we were three girls at home, Esther, Ruth, and me. I was the youngest. So we went to school, but a few months later, the war broke out. It was now 1939. The Germans came to Prague, the soldiers with the tanks, with the songs, and every song was very frightening against Jews. Everything was against Jews. There was one song that was especially frightening. It was when Jewish blood comes out of our knives, the world will be a better one. This was a very frightening song, and I could not sleep in the night because I heard the terrible words of the terrible song. And so Jewish pupils could not go anymore to schools, and after they came to Prague, to Czechia, the Germans, every Jew had to wear a yellow star of David, and it has to be sewn with thread and needles, and also children, just the same. And so we went with the Magen David, and who did not wear the Magen David, they were the Nazis, and they had a needle here with a swastika, and the Nazis had always high boots, and they were beating Jews in Prague, mostly elderly men, and not every elderly man got up from the beatings in the streets in Prague. It was a very terrible time. And after this, the Magen David, in a few days later, there were rumors that they sent the Jews in a ghetto. Ghetto is a town where there are walls around and we could not go out. That they were sending Jewish people to Ghetto Theresienstadt, that is also in Czechia. And they came with cars to pick up all the Jews, and they knew exactly where every Jew was living. They came also to take us, our family. They threw us on the car like parcels, and they brought us to the exhibition halls, where till now were exhibitions. Now they stopped with the exhibitions and they made a meeting place for Jews. And I was here the youngest. We had to stand for hours, and they were letting us stand, and it was a hot summer, it was August, it was now 42, and we had to stand for hours rigid like soldiers. And one day the heat was so terrible on my head that I fell down and I was fainting because of the heat. And I woke up with the rifle of the SS man on my belly, and he woke me up, and I stood up and saw the rifle on me. He said, "Don't you be spoiled here, don't be pampered here." I said, I'm not pampered. He said, "Then stand up and learn to stand like all the grown-up people are standing." Yes, I said, I will learn it. And I really learned to stand rigid. המשפט של אייכמן. אתם שמעתם על משפט אייכמן? אז זה לא נתן לי מנוחה. אני רציתי נורא לספר לנועה, ועשיתי קורס ביד ושם, פה בירושלים, עשיתי קורס ולמדתי לדבר במשך שעה כמעט על מה שאני עברתי. עכשיו זה לא כל כך רגילה באנגלית, אבל אני מבינה אני מקווה שהבינו אותי.
היה מעולה, הבנו הכל.
בת כמה היית כשעלית פה לארץ?
עכשיו 91.
כמה היית כשעלית לארץ?
לארץ, 15 וחצי, כן. אבל הייתי 3 חודשים באטליט. אולי תהיו שם באטליט.
היינו.
הייתם?
רוצה לתרגם רגע? כן.
When you were in Auschwitz, did you have some time to like production house or it was like impossible? Because I know that some people when they were in ghettos or things like that, they could usually do some production house and things like that, but it depends.
Maybe
on the
my
place.
mother had it in her mind that it's now Shabbat, maybe, but no, nothing like that.
And why you didn't remove the number?
Removed? Why removed?
No, I don't know.
I'm not getting removed because it does not bother me. I have my thoughts inside me and my memories. That doesn't bother me. כן.
רציתי לשאול אם פעם חזרת לפולין, למחנות, שעברת עם אברהם, מחשבה אולי
מה?
אם חזרת פעם לפולניה...
לא. לא, לפולניה לא, אבל מי זה שאל?
אני.
בעברית?
כן.
אנחנו היינו עם רמי בצ'כיה, איפה שנולדתי. אז הראיתי לו איפה הייתי גרה, רצינו להיכנס, להראות לו איפה שהיינו גרים, אבל לא נתנו לנו להיכנס כי שם גרים כבר אנשים אחרים. והצ'כים גם לא נותנים שום פיצויים, שום דבר. שום דבר.
She said, she asked her if she never went back to
מי מדבר?
Poland,
הוא מתרגם להם.
Poland or places where the Holocaust took place. She said she didn't went, except she once went with him to check back to the place that she was born, and she wanted to show him her house, and they didn't let her in because other people live there already, and she said that the Czech doesn't give compensation of the Holocaust in comparison to other countries which do. So that's it.
אמרת שאמא שלך הייתה נורא האמינה. איך אמרת? כאילו, את האמנת שיש אלוהים.
אני רוצה להאמין כמו שהיא, אבל איכשהו זה לא הולך כל כך. אני חצי מאמינה, חצי לא. קשה לי עם זה. אני לא יודעת, היא כל כך האמינה באלוהים, והיא אמרה, אמרתי לך שאנחנו עוד נשתחרר מפה. היא אמרה לי אחרי המלחמה. אמרתי לך שאלוהים עוד יעזור לנו. והיא האמינה בזה שאלוהים זה שעזר לנו לצאת משם.
ואת במהלך המלחמה לא האמנת, כאילו.
לא, אני הייתי מיואשת וגם לא סלחתי להם שאבא שלי לא חזר. הייתי מאוד קשורה לאבא. אבא שלי נספה בבוכנוולד, זה היה מחנה קשה מאוד לגברים. אז הוא מת מעיראק שם.
I asked her, she said, like her mom...
מי מדבר?
רגע,
And she said before her mom was religious and she always like had faith like in God that it's gonna be like the
Savior.
okay. But and I asked her if she also had faith, if she also like believed in God and that it's going to end, and she said it was like too hard for her to believe. She was
Desperate. תשאל, אני אגיד לה.
Right now we're going to Poland, so do you have anything?
תוליד את זה, אני לא
Right now we're going to Poland, so do you have? Right now we're traveling to Poland in a few days.
אנחנו נוסעים לפולין. עוד כמה ימים.
So is there
I'm
something,
not going there.
is there something you recommend us to do, or You want to tell them for
You can ask the Czech, מה?
area, region.
The Czech spell.
Mhm.
You can ask Birkenau, Birkenau. But I think
House.
Barak?
Our house.
the hat is not standing anymore. It was 11, number 11.
בבקשה.
Yes.
כן, אז ממה שהבנתי,
יותר בקולה.
יותר בקולה, סבבה. אז רוב הזמן, רוב המלחמה, היית קרובה לאמא שלך.
מאוד. בזכותה אני נשארתי בחיים, רק בזכותה.
כן.
מפני שהיא הכניסה לי אמונה באלוהים, היא הכניסה לי תקווה שעוד נצא מהגיהנום. ואם לא אמא, אני לא הייתי עוברת את זה בשום אופן. לבד, אם הייתי לבד, לא הייתי עוברת את הדברים הנוראים האלה.
רצית לשאול משהו?
לא, רציתי לשאול מה הייתה ההשפעה.
מה?
רציתי לשאול מה הייתה ההשפעה שאמא שלך שהייתי איתה.
כן.
כן, היא עטפה אותי באמונה. עטפה אותי ואני רציתי להאמין מה שהיא אומרת לי. ובסוף היא צדקה. איך שהראתה את הציפור הקטנה. אחר כך היא אמרה לי, אמרתי לך שעוד נצא מפה. הייתה אישה מיוחדת.
הנה עוד אחד שם.
רגע נתרגם.
רגע, תרגום.
Aviv asked how much her mother affected her.
רגע, שנייה. שנייה.
I'm translating. So Aviv asked how much her mother affected her in all this time, and she said that her mother put hope and like they believe in God, and this is what kept her alive and kept her want to be to see the future, to see the light, and this God.
Did you have the possibility to see again one of the children that were with you in the house of children?
Where I was living?
Or you were living?
No, I just said before Rami and I were. Ma?
He's asking if you ever had a possibility to see the children from the children house in Auschwitz.
Concentration camp.
After a long time, after everything, and
אז למי שיהיה חסר אנחנו נשלים את זה, כן. יש פה בעברית ויש פה באנגלית.
כן, בעברית זה לישראלי.
כן.
שאלות אחרונות?
הייתה לך עוד משפחה מצ'כיה?
אף אחד.
רק אתם.
כולם נהרגו, כולם.
כאילו.
היה לי משפחה בפולניה, כולם נהרגו, אני אפילו לא הספקתי להכיר אף סבתא ואף סבא. אף אחד. יש לי רק את המשפחה שלי שאני בניתי אותה, אבל אף אחד לא נשאר בחיים.
וכולם היו בפולין.
כן, הם היו בפולין ואנחנו בצ'כיה.
מעניין אותי לדעת איך היו החיים שלכם כשהגעתם לארץ. אמרת שהרבה בדיכאון הזה.
היה לי דיכאון. אני לא סלחתי עד היום, אני לא סולחת לאחותי. היא לא שאלה אותי שום דבר. זה היה בזמן של בן גוריון, כשהוא לא רצה לדבר על השואה. הוא התבייש שהעם שלו עבר שואה, כי הוא ראה את זה בתור איזו חולשה, שהיהודים עברו שואה. אז אף אחד לא שאל. ואחותי גם למדה את החוק של בן גוריון, ולא שאלה שום דבר, גם בעלה לו, אף אחד לא שאל פה שום דבר. ואז שהיה, שנים אחרי זה שהיה משפט אייכמן, אז העולם מתעורר, והיה כתוב בעיתון מה שקרה, ואז אני רציתי מאוד שהנוער שלנו ידע מה שאנחנו עברנו, ואז למדתי בקורס לדבר במשך שעה.
The last two questions she
רצית
asked.
גם לשאול משהו?
She asked if she had any. The last two questions she asked before if she had any family in Czech before or after like if she had a family in Czech, and she said no, but she had family in Poland and other places, and all of them did not survive, and she didn't even get to meet her grandparents. And then, Maya, what did you ask?
How was the life after the war, like when she came to Israel? And then her grandma said that she was depressed and she doesn't forgive her sister for not asking about the Holocaust or nothing, because at that time Ben Gurion considered it a weakness, like the Shoah and the Holocaust, and nobody would talk about it, and it made her like very depressed. And now that people started talking about it, it's very important for her to spread it and tell the youth and all, like whoever she can, about her story.
Last question? כן. אמא, עוד אחת פה.
יש עוד?
כן. עברית, אנגלית? עברית.
אמרת שאת באמת
שמה?
סליחה. אמרת שאת לא סולחת וזה מאוד הגיוני, ורציתי לדעת איך היה לך לבוא לגרמניה ולדבר עם אנשים שם.
אז בגרמניה היו כאלה שחייכו כאילו שרצו להגיד מגיע לכם בצורה כזאת, אבל היו גם כאלה שהתעניינו ממש ומאמינים כאילו רחמנות וחושבים את עצמם אחראים על ההורים שלהם, מה שהם עשו. כל מיני נקודות, כל מיני.
ואיך הרגשת לגבי זה שאת איך הרגשת לגבי זה שאת כאילו מעבירה שם?
אני לא רציתי יותר מדי לדבר כדי שלא יצא מזה פיצוץ. הייתי רוצה להגיד להם איזה חזירות הם עשו. רציתי להגיד, אבל צדקתי. אני לא אצלי בבית.
תרגום.
I asked her how did she feel to come to Germany after what they did, because she said she's not going to be there, and she said that she wanted to and she said that some of the reaction was that they were laughing like the Jew deserve it, and some of the reaction was felt guilty because of what their parents did and their grandparents did, and she wanted to say bad words like I'm going to translate, like like pigs and stuff like that, but she know it's not her house, and she need to say the words. Yes.
עוד אחת. שם.
כן.
את מרגישה עדיין את הטראומה שחווית עכשיו?
זה הולך אחריי. זה הולך אחריי, ולא פעם אני חולמת שאני במחנות. זה לא עוזב אותי בכלל. הכל מזכיר לי לפעמים איזה ריח או משהו. ובכלל, אני לא זורקת לחם. אני מכילה את הציפורים עם זה, אם יש עודף של לחם. אני מתייחסת לאוכל כמו למשהו קדוש. זה נשאר, זה נשאר. לא מתפטרים מזה.
מתרגמים.
I asked if she still in the